Welcome to the Friday edition of the Art Lewis Show. Later on, after the 10 o'clock news, I've invited Jonathan Dent to sit in with me this morning, talk about generational differences in how we view things, one generation to another, among other things. At 11 o'clock, we will learn about Atlas Tech Solutions on the Focus program. But for this hour, we're going to spend it talking about music and concerts and things like that, because with us paying another visit is the musical director and conductor of the Bay Concert Band, and we say good morning to Nathan Snyder. Morning.
Good morning, Art. Thank you so much for having me on.
You don't look awake today, neither do I.
It's concert season, as we like to call it. It's Maycember. It has all of the busyness of December without any of the gifts and family meals.
So you work, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you guys got a concert. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's kind of an unusual day, isn't it? A Tuesday to have a concert?
Yeah. You could say that Tuesday is kind of an unusual day to have a concert, but we do our fall concert and our spring concert on a Tuesday night. It helps with some of the overcrowding you experience at that time of the year with all of the groups that are performing concerts.
Oh, yeah.
So
they're everywhere.
Yeah, it puts us on a unique evening and removes those conflicts from most people.
Yeah, that's true. So This one is Tuesday at Bay City Central Auditorium.
That's correct.
7:30?
7:30 is the downbeat of the concert.
So does the spring concert, is it much different than other concerts that you do?
Well, it is this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we have something kind of new this year. A couple of new things, actually. The thing that is really exciting about this is our annual scholarship winners, who we used to just award their scholarships, and that was the end of the interaction. They were invited this year to perform with the band on the second half of the concert.
So let's go back and explain that. The scholarships are music scholarships?
Yes, the scholarships are music scholarships. So this year we gave out 5 $400 scholarships. Those scholarships can be used towards private lesson instruction, upgrading your instrument. If you want to attend camps such as the Herder Music Camp, go to Blue Lake, something like that. Or they can also be used towards college tuition, which I believe one of our students will be using as he's going to be attending CMU in the fall.
And so you've invited them to perform. Is it extra chairs for the band, or are they just taking a chair?
No, we put some extra chairs in the band. There are 4 seated players, so we have a flute, a trumpet, a euphonium, and a tuba, and then one of them is in the percussion section. So the percussion players don't get chairs.
Yeah.
No, they don't get to sit down, unfortunately. They have to stand like I do. So
yeah. Oh, it's such a
solidarity
shame.
with the percussion section.
And these youngsters are how old?
The youngest is an 8th grader, and the oldest is a senior in high school. So they range in age. We award the scholarships anywhere from middle school up through high school because, like I said, they can be used. They're not just for college scholarships. They can be used for other purposes.
A lot of the musicians in your band are professionals, at least semi-professionals.
Some are.
And now you have these 4 youngsters coming in who probably have, I would imagine, various ranges of competency.
Mm-hmm.
How do they blend into the band?
Well, the nice thing about having such a big band is if somebody is a little uncomfortable with some of the music, they can just kind of lay out for a little bit if there's something that's a little bit out of their comfort zone. But I did purposefully choose music that would be a little bit more accessible, especially because we do have an 8th grader that's playing with us. I took into account the ages of the students who are going to be playing with us, and I said, well, I don't want to have anything too insanely technical that we're going to try to play.
But something maybe a little more complicated than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yes, exactly. I would imagine that it's something, the music is a little bit more difficult than what they might play in their school band.
Which is good, challenging them.
Yes, exactly. They get a nice challenge. They get a chance to play with some older folks who have some really strong ability, and they can learn from them, and you can interact, and it's truly an intergenerational.
How are they chosen? I mean, you have these scholarships you gave out. Was there an audition, or how do you determine who's going to get a scholarship?
Yep. So there's not a playing audition. We have a formal application process. People fill out the application. They have to write a letter. So for many of them, it's the first time they've had to talk about themselves in a way that showcases their abilities. What have they done in their band? Do they hold a leadership position? Have they gone to camp before? Are they taking private lessons? So they have to put that down on paper and organize their thoughts, which is a good thing to do. And they have to get a recommendation from their band director. And then all that information is compiled. The names are removed from the applications, and then our board of directors sits down and ranks all of them, and then they choose.
It's more like what they've done rather than how they play.
Yes, exactly. Because we do want it to be, it's not just based on your playing ability, but it's also based on your desire to improve and continue playing.
I don't know about you, if you ever had to audition for a school.
Yes.
Well, I grew up in New York City, and I auditioned to go to the Fame High School.
Mm-hmm.
I was accepted, but I chose not to go. That's a whole nother story. But the audition was probably one of the most nerve-wracking things I ever did in my life.
Yep.
Back then, I was a clarinet player, and so you go down to the school, and there were distinct components after all the written stuff and your transcripts and all that stuff. 3 parts to the audition. First, play a song you brought, and you're not in a group setting. It's you and a teacher,
mm-hmm.
and so you play your song, and they don't critique it. They're making notes, but they don't critique it. The next phase, play this song. They stick a piece of sheet music in front of you, which you've never seen before. You got to sight read it and play it. That was the worst part for me. I did it, but it was terrible. The third part, even though you're an instrumentalist, you had to demonstrate that you had a musical ear by singing notes at a piano. And that was really bad for me because I'm not a singer. But I managed to scrape out enough recognizable sound that I somehow I passed this audition.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never, ever forget it. As long as I live, it is the one thing in my life that I had to audition for that I will never forget.
Yeah, what you described is similar to what a lot of the kids in Michigan do when they audition for the All-State Band. It's the same kind of process. They play a prepared piece. They have to do sight reading, and for that one, they play scales. They don't ask them to to sing anything, but they do have to demonstrate proficiency on their scales.
Yeah, they wanted to know about our ear. That
mm-hmm.
we could hear the difference in the notes,
Yep.
And the other thing, what was really funny about it was that was a far more difficult audition. I was in the New York Citywide Orchestra, made up of high school students from all over the city. That audition was 2 minutes. It was easy because most of the time your teacher recommended that you move on to it,
Yes.
So
yeah.
it was fun, but I'll never forget it. But the clarinet has long since, I can squeak things out of it, but that's about it.
Well, that was, one of the reasons I talked to the board of directors, and they were really receptive to this about having the students play with us, was I'm really trying to build a community of music, and I want those kids to understand that there is life beyond school music. So when they graduate high school, they should keep playing in college, even if it's just, the campus band or
Sure.
playing with friends or join the marching band or the pep band for the basketball team if that's something you want to do. But keep playing, because when you get out, even if you aren't a music teacher, you can still make music with other people. And everybody who comes to rehearsal is happy to be there. They want to be there. They're having a good time. They
It's
get
a
to
time
see
of
their friends.
expression.
Yes, exactly. It's a place where they're safe and they get to see their friends. It's the family that they get to choose.
All right. We're talking to Nathan Snyder. Bay Concert Band has a concert this coming Tuesday, May 6th, 7:30 at Bay City Central Auditorium. We'll talk about what's going to be included in the concert and some other things with Nathan when we return here on WSGW. Back with you. We're talking to Nathan Snyder. He is the musical director and conductor of the Bay Concert Band. Big concert coming up, their spring concert coming up this Tuesday, Bay City Central Auditorium, and it's at 7:30 in the evening. $10 to get in, and there are special rates for students. So every concert has an agenda. So what's on the agenda for the spring concert?
Yes. So this one is we are honoring the past and looking towards the future. So
That's pretty bold, encompassing.
Yes, it is. It is. So the first half of our concert will be just the members of the Bay Concert Band. And we're doing 3 pieces that are kind of looking towards the past and honoring some of the greats that have come before us. So the first piece on the program, and this is the other thing that's different for us on this concert, is we're doing a piece of chamber music. So it's just for 9 people.
A concert band doing chamber music.
I know.
Who plays the violins?
No, it's all wind music,
Yeah,
believe it or not.
I'd assumed that, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 9 of us that are playing, and we're doing one movement of the Charles Gounod Petite Symphony, the last movement. It's a really charming little piece of music, and
Okay, stop. I heard you say something.
yes,
9 of us.
yes,
Are you one of us?
I am one of us.
Oh!
I'm going to break out the old licorice stick and play along
That's right,
with
because
them.
you and I shared that, yeah.
Yes, that is correct. So there's 2 bassoons, 2 horns, 2 clarinets, 2 oboes, and a flute.
Wow.
And we're going to play that piece first in the program.
Look out, Canadian brass. Here they go. That's woodwinds.
Yeah. And then the other 2 pieces, we're using the full band. We're doing a Wagner march. And most people would think
It's got to be heavy.
Wagner, well, it is, but most people would think Wagner and concert band. Is that even a thing? Well, it is. There were military bands back in his time, and he wrote this
Did
piece.
he write for them?
He did. He wrote this piece specifically for the military band at the
Is
court.
it a march style?
It is a march style, but it's not the style you would think of if you think of Sousa marches, right? So it's heavier, and it's slower.
Going to be heavier just because it's Wagner.
Yes, that is very true. It's very thick and meaty, but it's a really great piece, and it really it kind of has pushed the band stamina wise because it has some decent length to it. It's about 6 minutes, and when you play that long. For some of them, they're playing a lot, so it's really sustained, and it's a lot of, really focused on getting their endurance up to play through the piece.
That's interesting when you compare concert bands to orchestras. Orchestras are used to 12, 14, 15-minute pieces, nothing unusual.
Yes.
Concert bands, you get to 6 minutes, you're pushing them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, at that point, then you got to divide it up into movements usually.
Yeah.
And then the third piece on the first half, one of the most well-known pieces of concert band literature, it's the Gustav Holst Second Suite in F for military band. So we played the first suite at the beginning of the year, and I said, well, we might as well finish the end of the season with a second suite, kind of bookend it.
Now, is this technically the end of the season, the spring concert?
This is the end of our formal season. We will have a summer concert on June the 11th at Winona Park,
Okay.
downtown. Yeah. And And so the Holst is divided into 4 movements. If you've been a member of a concert band, there's a good chance you have either played the piece or you've heard the piece.
How similar is it to the Planets?
Very different. It's very, very different because the music he used for this suite is all folk music. So he took folk song, English folk songs, and then he weaved it into this work.
Got to be some interesting rhythms.
Yeah, there are some good rhythms, and the first movement switches back and forth between, a 2-feel and a 3-feel, and then what I think is funny is there's a movement. It's the song without words, but it's a folk song that has words. So I think that's humorous. And we feature an anvil player on the 3rd movement. It's one of the most famous anvil parts. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's the other famous anvil part besides the anvil chorus. Right. Yes, exactly. So, it's been fun putting that together. The band really likes it. Anytime you bring out Holst and Vaughan Williams in a concert band setting, that's usually,
it's enjoyable for them.
Yeah, it usually brings some happy smiles from the group. Absolutely.
So that's the first half.
That is the first half.
Are the scholarship youngsters part of that?
No, they're going to play in the second half.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that, the members of the concert band still had their time, to do what they're doing. And then we add our 5 scholarship winners in the second half of the program.
Which then contains?
So the second half of the program is a little more, I guess you could call it kind of thematic and fun. So we start with a piece called Tripwire, which is meant to sound like music from like a spy movie where they're sneaking around and they're trying to get into their places, so it's kind of quiet, and all of a sudden there's like this burst of activity, and then it's really quiet and they're tiptoeing around, and then there's a burst of activity as they're running away from somebody and something like that. So that's a nice way to open the second half. We move on then to a nice slow piece. It's called As Summer Was Just Beginning. It's a piece that was written kind of in, I guess you could say, an homage to James Dean. Oh. The composer was at the gravesite where James Dean is buried, and there's a inscription on the tombstone in Latin, and I don't remember the Latin, but the translation in English translates to something like "As Summer Was Just Beginning," kind of saying, he was just getting into the prime of his life. Yep. When he lost his life. So the piece is written...
fitting for May 6th. I mean, summer's not that far away.
Right, exactly. We're getting very close to the start of summer. So it's a really beautiful piece. Nice for them to get something slow to play.
All right, we're going to take a pause, come back, and we'll finish up what's happening in the second half this Tuesday. Big concert band at Bay City Central Auditorium. And again, it starts at 7:30 on Tuesday. Take a moment to talk about my friends at McDonald Ford in Freeland, because, as it gets harder and harder to find products made in America, and now with the uncertainty of tariffs, it's become even more important. And McDonald Ford, in anticipation of tariffs, stocked their lot with tariff-free vehicles with many more en route. Not only are they tariff-free, but Ford is offering employee pricing for everyone. And here is some news that you are going to hear here first. Ford has just announced it is extending its employee pricing through July 6th. That's an extra month. So now is the time for you to buy a Ford and pay the same price as Ford employees. In addition, let's say you're a Chrysler and import buyer considering a Ford. You'll get the lowest price offered. Chevy truck buyers can get themselves into a Ford F-150, the best-selling pickup in the country, also at employee pricing. So you see, now's the right time to visit McDonald Ford, M47 in Freeland, for the best selection and the lowest possible price. Don't let tariffs prevent you from getting the vehicle of your choice at a price you can afford. Visit McDonald Ford in Freeland today, tariff-free, and extended employee pricing for everyone. And by the way, if maybe you're not in the market for a new car, remember that All the vehicles on their pre-owned lot are also tariff-free. We'll be back.
Attention, all Mega Millions players.
And we return here on the Art Lewis Show. In studio with me, Nathan Snyder. He is the musical director and conductor of the Bay Concert Band. This Tuesday, May 6th, at the Bay Central Performing Center, the auditorium. They will be putting on their spring concert. So we're halfway through the second half. Time to continue.
Yes. So after we play the nice, slow piece dedicated to James Dean, we're going to pick it back up a little bit with a nice, very new piece, hence looking towards the future. It was just written last year, or 2 years ago, by Michelle Fernandez. It's called of Endless Miles and Empty Rafts. And it's a nice Latin tune with a lot of really nice percussion features. The percussion section gets a real chance to shine in this piece.
Ooh.
There's bongos and there's congas and there's some traditional playing that they get to do that you just don't get in some of the concert band music. But it's a really nice piece, a lot of fun to play. The band has enjoyed putting that one together. Then we're gonna do something. It's a little different because it's May, but we're going to play the music of Danny Elfman. That sometimes gets reserved for Halloween time because he wrote, The Nightmare Before Christmas and Edward Scissorhands and music like that.
Good stuff.
Yeah. But there's some very recognizable music in there. There's music from the original Spider-Man that's in there. So it's a fun piece, but still a nice concert band arrangement of that. And then we're going to close it out with something a little more traditional because I always try to put a march somewhere on our program.
I was waiting to hear that.
Yep, that's right. But we, instead of going with a Sousa this time, we went with Them Basses, which features all of our bass instruments. So the tuba, the trombone, the euphonium, bari sax, bass clarinet, and bassoons. And they get to play the melody the whole time. It's all them.
Oh.
The clarinets and flutes get to play the accompaniment pretty much the whole way through the piece, and the basses are the feature. It's a great march written by Getty Hafeen. Most people don't really know who he is other than from this one march that gets played by a lot of different groups. So you have, we have the slower Wagner march on the first half, which is, kind of like the real old style, and then we close it out with the upbeat, fast style march that's a little bit, it's an American style march.
So we have now a concert band doing a full concert without a single mention of Sousa.
I know. There's probably going to be a couple of disappointed people.
There'll be protests outside. I mean, I can see it now.
Well, I balanced it out because there was actually a Sousa march on the Christmas concert this year. So we did, it was a mix of Stars and Stripes and Jingle Bells together.
Yeah.
So I said, well, if I don't put a Sousa march on the last concert, I did do one at Christmas. So,
that's good.
We got as much Sousa as
your
we could.
bases.
Yeah, exactly.
How long typically are the concerts?
Concerts typically run an hour and a half. That includes the intermission. Sometimes they're even a little faster than that. So this concert should be done by 9 o'clock, which is great because then you can take the kids home and put them to bed because we encourage people to bring their children. I think kids need to be exposed to hearing live music, and we're okay if they make a little bit of noise. We don't expect them to sit there stone-faced for an hour and a half. Hopefully they're enjoying themselves. They want to get up and move around and dance a little bit. So please bring your kids, bring the whole family. Come on out for some good entertainment and fun.
So we could aptly call this a relaxed atmosphere.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the great things about community music is you have the chance to engage your entire community from birth until old age. It's always been intergenerational. Everybody can be there. Everybody can be part of it and experience the fun that comes with it.
It's the Bay Concert Band, and we'll be back to talk more about the band. I want to talk about its size and how you get to be a member. We'll do that with Nathan Snyder when we return after these notes.
Jim Wilson, I see the crowds are gathering at Wilson Ford Lincoln. Is it really true that absolutely everything is on sale?
Wilson Ford Lincoln on Bay Road is celebrating the season with a
And as we return to our conversation with Nathan Snyder, we remind you that the Bay Concert Band, Tuesday, 7:30 at Bay Central High School Auditorium. How big is the band?
We have approximately 85 members in the band right now.
That's a decent size. That's a big band.
It is a big band. It has grown in the last 2.5 years. I think when I became the conductor, there were probably about 45 or 50 players.
You almost doubled it.
Yeah, so it's great. I think people feel comfortable being there. They enjoy being there. They like the music. They like the camaraderie, and that's what attracts them.
So if you could have an ideal size, what would it be?
Well, I honestly, you can go anywhere from about 25 players up to 100 players, as long as you try to balance out the instrumentation as best as you can. There's no one perfect size. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I think for us, 85 is great. We're pretty close to maxing out our space in the band room and on the stage at Central High School. So, if we get too many more people, it could be a problem. But I said we're going to have to pay to blow out the wall in the band room and add an extra 10 feet of space so that we fit in there. But
how does a person become a band member?
So our audition process is very, very simple. All you have to do is attend the first rehearsal of the cycle, and you have to introduce yourself. You have to tell us your name, what instrument you play,
Wait a minute.
and how you heard about the band.
At what point do you want to know if they can play that instrument?
Well, we assume that if you're coming there, you at least have some proficiency, because you would want to be able to come and participate. If you couldn't play your instrument, I'm not sure why you would really want to show up and be there if you couldn't play the music. So
That may be the easiest auditioning process I've ever heard.
it's definitely much easier than your audition you had for the for the Fame School.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And we should point out, these are all volunteers, right?
That is correct. They are volunteers. They show up because they love to play music and they want to be there.
Because unlike the Eddie Band, which has that huge fund that they work off of, you guys are self-funded, right?
That is correct. We are self-funded, so we fund everything off of our ticket sales and our ad sales, and it works really well for us. I have asked band members if they would be interested in sponsoring new music, and the band is very enthusiastic about doing that. Every year, all of the pieces that get programmed that are new for us, so the music we don't already own,
go out and buy, right?
we go out and buy it. And I always ask the band, if anyone would like to sponsor a piece of music, please come see me at break. And I have a list of all the pieces and their cost, and the people come up and they're very enthusiastic about it. Like I said, for the 2 years I've been in charge, all of the new music has been sponsored.
And so people understand, it's not like going to Herder Music and buying a piece of sheet music. You have to buy the book, right?
That's right. You have to buy all of the parts. Exactly. So, and they range anywhere from about $80 to really expensive ones can be $300, but you're talking about like major,
couple $100.
Major band works if you're going that expensive.
Yeah.
But they usually average between $90 and $125 for a piece of music.
So it's not outrageous.
No, it's really not. It's really not. And people sometimes
so
split them too. So
could the public come to you and say, I really want to hear this piece of music and I'm willing to pay for it?
They could. If anybody wanted to get in touch with me, they should go through our website. If they go to bayconcertband.com, there's a contact us on there, and they could send an email, and then the person who who takes care of our social media and email would let me know what that is. But yeah, I would be happy to do that if somebody has a specific title that they're interested in having the band perform and they want to sponsor it. Absolutely, they can get in touch with us and we'll talk about it and see what we can figure out.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning here and end where we should, and that is the concert coming up on Tuesday, 7:30 at Bay City Central.
Yes.